Yes.
There's always
All right, welcome everybody. 9:03 a.m. I'll call this meeting. Harmony, just as soon as you're ready. I'll roll.
Director Bradley, Director Brems, Director Cardenas,
Here.
Director Daly, Director Keatley, Director Litvack, Director Olson,
Present.
Director Peterson,
Here.
Director Prokopis,
Here.
Director Silvestrini,
Here.
Director Stevenson.
Here.
Thank you. All right, moving to public comment. Do we have any public comments today? Do we have any online? Seeing none. We have been asked, we would go into item 3, the UPD update from the sheriff, but we've been asked that we do resolution 23-1101 to ratify retirement and transfer K9 Officer Bolo to Handler Chief to Handler and move into that item right now. So I would just ask for a motion and move that across the agenda right now.
Make a motion to reorder the agenda.
Second. And a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Let's move right into that item. So Chief Dunn.
Good morning. Welcome. This is to ratify and transfer the ownership of K9 Bolo Scott coming up. This is Sergeant Scott Wilberger. He served in the K9 unit with great distinction over the last 10 years and 1 month. They are the defending UPO with UPOA, which is Utah Peace Officer Association K9 trials. They're the defending champions. Came out, did a great job with more trophies in our division now because of these two. So that's what this is about. Scott, thank you for your service. And Bolo, be on the lookout. But is that what you named him that? No, I never asked you that. It was just a. Okay, all right. We congratulate Scott for his time in K9 and his new function as sergeant. He's being transferred to Mill Creek. So that's Scott Bolo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Yes, thank you.
Okay, if there's no questions. I ask all.
Very social. So you know.
Chair Jackson, I would make a motion to ratify the retirement and transfer of K9 Officer Bolo.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes.
Thank you very much.
I know that Halloween was last night too, but next time if y'all could leave your goodies at home before you come in here, maybe that will help. All right, we'll move into the UPD here from Sheriff Rivera and
Good morning, everyone. A couple of things I want to update before we turn the time over to we had an officer critical incident last Sunday in Midville. It was an officer shooting. It is being investigated by the OICI team. I'm not quite sure what agency is. They oversee a team. There's several teams, but their team came out and we'll be consistently checking on our officer to ensure that how the officer is doing, but just wanted to make you aware of that. And probably within 20 minutes of that, we received an active shooter call, which turned out not to be, but just so you know how some of these calls happen, Somebody will call dispatch, an active shooter requires a lot more response. And when you have all your resources tied up on involved shooting, it becomes a challenge to respond to those. So we did ask for assistance from other agencies, which was a great response from every agency across the valley helped. It came out. Originally, we were told that 3 people had been shot. After everything had been settled down, we found that 3 people had been injured, but not shot, and the suspect is still outstanding. It was an altercation over some property. And right now I don't have much more information, but I just want to talk about the dynamic, something like that happening. And when you get 2 things like that happening, it's very difficult to juggle. Currently, we have a watch commander out there, and our watch commander was Dustin Fowler, who did just an incredible job managing all of that. That's a lot to manage. Did a great job. As you know, he just got promoted to lieutenant, so he's fairly new watch commander, but performed like no other. The one thing that came out of this is it made me realize how important those watch commanders are to oversee operations. And we had come to the board last, I don't even know what date it was, but we asked you to fund another watch commander, and you did that. You did it till December. So when Lieutenant Adamson retired, his position was being used as our extra watch commander, but he retired. So what we've been doing is using that funding to pay overtime for sergeants to come out and be the watch commander, simply because one watch commander can't cover the entire, week. So my request is going to be if you would have appetite to fund a watch commander for the beginning January to July 1. The cost would be 105,000. Is that accurate?
100,500.
100,500. I think it's super important, and we're going to run out of that overtime money. It's being taken out of your budget, Chief Giles' budget currently. But if that's something that you'll entertain, I'll bring it in the next meeting. I think it's really important. I feel like if we would have had a sergeant on last night, they may have been able to manage it, but it's very tough when they're doing their own sergeant duties because the sergeant is running a shift. So in order to have a sergeant do a watch command job is tough, or even bring in watch, some of the lieutenants who are in admin positions may not work in that patrol function every single day. To have to kick in, it makes it tough. It's much easier to have a watch commander that is knows every shift, is familiar with all the folks, is actively working in that position, especially for responses like we had last night. But if the board is okay with that, I will bring that at the next board meeting with the budget request. Or if you want to give me any other direction, I'm open to taking any.
Chair, does that give us 2 watch commanders, 4 hours a day?
It gives, no, in order to do 24, we'd need 5. So, but it gives us 2 watch commanders 7 days a week for those prime hours that we need. The peak hours are more afternoon shift into a partial graveyard shift.
I had another question with the officer while shooting in Midvale. Where was the active shooter geographically? This place is huge. I mean, I'm just curious where
Mill Creek,
that was in Mill Creek.
That was Mill Creek.
Okay.
Yeah,
Season Spring, so it's like 40th South and Main Street.
Gotcha.
yeah. And when you have an officer involved shooting, most of your resources are going that way to help out. We still leave the precincts covered, but at a minimum. And then when you get a high priority call like that, now you have to try to, figure out how you can manage that manpower. And this was all post midnight. So your afternoons are either gearing up to go home. You know, so,
Shift change, that's always great too.
yeah,
Was an officer injured?
the officer was not injured.
Somebody else injured?
Yes, that person is deceased, so. Yeah. And, you know, we can give you more information, but right now it's just under investigation and, we're confident in the officer's ability to, you know, this is. The outcome will be. Right. Any other questions or direction on this watch commander?
Trying to think of how to word this question. I'm trying to refresh my own brain on, because we went through the funding that we were expecting a self-correction. And so it has, I hope I'm not mixing things up here. Has that self-correction happened and then we're just saying, but continue the funding? for the
Well,
rest of
yeah, because we were
this
over
year?
that lieutenant. We were, and that was due to Lieutenant Adamson, you know, being deployed and then coming back early, so we were over that lieutenant. And he has since retired, so that has been corrected, but that still leaves us with only one watch commander because of the other watch commander was cut in the last budget. But that's where we have found that cutting that watch commander has been, you know, critical to operations. You just have to have some kind of coverage, and one watch commander can't work 7 days a week and cover all that. So we have to have somebody out there overseeing all of the operations at night.
How often at night do we have a sergeant both covering their own shift and being the watch?
It wouldn't happen too often because we're also using the lieutenants and the chiefs, whoever's available, to come out. But that takes them away from all their duties as well.
So I guess how often do we have a non-watch commander doing their own shift and watch?
Half of the time, because the watch commander only works a certain shift. He may know what shift he's on.
Yeah, so the current watch commander works, Tuesday through Friday, and then we pay overtime to sergeants and lieutenants to come out to cover that under a time frame during the week, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So it's rare from your question that an on-duty sergeant is the watch commander. It's usually another person being brought in, paid out of my overtime budget, and that overtime budget is expended by the end of March.
Yeah, the only time you're gonna get a sergeant that does that is when the watch commander goes home.
Right.
And the sergeant's on duty, managing the shift and managing those hours that the watch commander has gone home.
Okay, I'm trying to come up with questions here. So you just said that budget will run out in March.
That's what I anticipate.
The $100,500, is that included using up that budget through March? Or that would be stop using your budget?
Don't stop using that budget. It would be new money to that budget to cover that 6 months in that budget.
But would it be 6 months if it's March to July? Or June 30th?
Rather than wipe out his overtime.
No, it'd be.
Yeah, okay,
in essence,
that's what
it'd be
you want.
half of that, April, May, June. You would wipe out the overtime budget, and that's there for emergency.
It's there for SWAT call outs, it's there for, you know, any major event,
Events,
that's where we.
riot, I mean, that's what it was intended for. That's a backfill piece of the unknowns.
Have we had any issue filling those shifts, from an overtime, getting somebody to go in and work the overtime?
Generally not. It doesn't currently.
Spend in the budget to afford this.
Is there any underexpend in the budget? I'm sorry, what was that? The question is there any underexpend in the budget to?
Is there any underexpended
Yeah,
spending in the budget right now?
not in yours,
I don't know.
Right.
I don't think
you
so.
have no one. Because we usually spend his out. We could take a look at all the precincts.
Do
Go
we-
there,
Do we have, cost difference. So if we continue to use this from yours through March, and then we just have to cover that through the end of the year. I mean, I know Salt Lake County is in a tough position. I know doing mid-year adjustment like this might be tough for us. And so that's what I'm wondering, is a way for us to get through the end of the fiscal year and then adjust from there, if it's feasible.
Well, we could take a look at every precinct's budget to see if there's any, you know, under expend comes from vacancies. Some precincts have had vacancies, you know, your investigations probably doesn't have under expend because they don't have vacancies, but we can take a look at that and see which precincts have.
I don't like the idea of somebody having to cover two shifts. I mean, that makes me nervous, both doing their job and a watch command. So I guess again, where my mind is at is to know our options. If we have that as a board, that might be helpful. That's my personal preference.
Well, and I think
Board wants to go
the
another
real issue is bringing people who say we're using lieutenants, which most are your executive lieutenants. They have a daily, you know, what they need to do, bringing them as a watch commander at night. Yes, they can all do it. You know, everybody's trained to do it. It's just the when you're trying to manage things and you're not doing it every single day, that isn't your regular job. That is a little bit of a challenge, but you know, we'll do whatever the board would like us to do.
Sure, I have 2 questions. The first one is the 100,500, is that the burden wage of one watch commander for 6 months? Is that what it costs to employ one officer for 6
That's the wage and benefits for a lieutenant.
You'd be a lieutenant.
One lieutenant, is it one watch commander for 6 months?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, I used the term burden wage in construction. That's what it costs to employ that individual. Okay, the second question is what happens after July 1? And it sounds
Well,
like we're
July
trying-
1, you know, with the split.
No, I know that, but is this lieutenant still gonna be needed after that date?
Yes.
It just depends on the split, because with the split, depending how many lieutenants UPD takes, how many lieutenants the sheriff's office takes. You know, you're still gonna need watch commanders, both of them will need watch commanders.
So should we be discussing the creation of a new position rather than the temporary position?
Well, we're just trying to get through July 1. The new position will be when Chief Dial and Chief Mazarin bring you the budget for July 1. So I would assume you're adding that to your budget.
It's built into the new organizational chart, July 1 forward.
So we could anticipate doing this again in July.
Well, it wouldn't be in July, it would be, so for your next budget, that position will be added to your next budget. So yeah, for next year's budget, it would be in there. We're just trying to get to that.
Do we know how this would affect a vacancy down the line? I mean, I'm curious on your update for this month, but I know that we're doing okay with holding on to folks, but harder to fill new positions. So I assume this would leave a vacancy somewhere. Do we
create a vacancy?
And would we know that at this point of maybe where that vacancy would land, or that would just depend on?
Just depends where you pull people from. And it may create us having to have a lieutenant task early too, because we only have 2 people left on the.
We're already working.
Part of shared services,
But that's
is part of shared services.
yeah,
So I'd like to see the breakout of expense based on precinct or based on organization, and then an analysis of under expend by those areas.
okay. When you say breakout of expense for that position.
Calculated.
I want to be clear on this, because I know, I mean, specifically with the incident with Bell last night, I do think what you're saying makes sense, is important. I also know that we're in this weird place just with the reorganization, being in the middle of fiscal year, and just us understanding what those options are and how it will impact vacancies, I think would be helpful for me before a decision.
And we can bring that back. That's why I'm bringing it early. mean, you technically could go to Mark, but I wanted to make sure we're communicating early, you're aware. And then, you know, the events from last night just, you know, really show us that we need two watch commanders out there.
In comparison, other agencies our side, West Valley, West Jordan, Salt Lake City, all have minimum of 4, many 6, up to 10 watch commanders. West Valley, is it?
West Valley has 6, West Jordan has 4, Salt City has 9.
So I got a question, the 100,000 is to add to your overtime budget to continue as is through July. The new allocation, if we end up with a new lieutenant's position, that would be built into next year's budget. We're not gonna create a new position in January with this $100,000, we're gonna just continue what we're doing.
Well, that would be our preference, is to create that position, so we have the one person coming out every single night, rather than a different person.
I'm not sure the number of lieutenants we're gonna need after July 1. Right? I don't wanna create a rift situation come July if we're another lieutenant heavy. It might be best to fund it to continue as is. Correct me if anybody, I just, we could end up with a heavy lieutenant come July for whatever reason. So maybe, just a thought.
So that second lieutenant is built into the current org chart that's been presented for the future UPD. And so that would be part of the budget discussion going forward, you know, do we want to fund that or not, but it is built in their current.
I mean, if we're certain on the number of lieutenants needed on both sides after July 1st, if we're already at that number, maybe we could in January.
Then the budget, if you do it now, then the new budget would just be funding that lieutenant, not creating an FTE in your new budget. If it's there. Okay. Yeah, we can bring some shared service numbers and else if you want us to answer. Right.
Obviously, we're not voting on this today.
Right,
I think
I
it's
wanted to
just
bring it to you.
I mean, me personally, I see no harm in getting this at a future board meeting and get to see. Those as that's with what the information I have now, but it's
Now we'll get it to the month.
Harmony, can you throw that presentation for me? So just wanted to give you a quick update on staffing again. We'll just start to do this routinely. Again, I have this dashboard that's now been rolled out so that all of the commanders have access to this at any given moment. And I will keep it updated at least weekly. So as you can see, this week we had a fairly large transfer order that went out. We had some promotions that took place. And so things have kind of shifted around. As you can see, we are currently down 8 individuals. That went up from the last presentation. That was the sheriff actually that is leading our organization to go to the sheriff's office. So that's where that came from. We also had 2 of the encumbrances that were in field training complete their training, and they have now been assigned. One went to Mill Creek, I believe the other went to Magna. So they're assigned now. As you can see, if you scroll down just a bit there, Harmony. I added a line under the candidate pipeline. We had 5 applicants for entry-level positions in October. We'll be starting them through the process next week with the PT test, and their target hire date would be March 2024. There's an academy class that starts on that March 25th day. That's why we're here. And so that's where we're at. We had no additional attrition. If you can click on that annual attrition tab there, Harmony. We had no additional attrition over since the last board meeting, so those numbers have stayed stable. And then I did add some information to this dashboard. If you can go to that UPD total time. Here. This sheet gives us an idea of how many people are currently eligible to retire from our organization. And how many are going to reach that threshold within the next 5 years. So you can see there under total eligible within 5 years, there's 125 people that will be eligible for retirement. Currently, there are 76. So that's just kind of a tool. If you are curious about that information, I've maintained this for several years, so try and keep that updated. There's 2 different evaluations on this sheet. There's the one on the left is UPD total time, and the one on the right is URS total time. There are several people that are post-retired that have time from other agencies. And so if you can scroll to the right there, Harmony, you can see that total eligible today is actually 94 by URS time, which is probably the more accurate number. I only update that once a year. I get a report from the URS in about February. We update that number in February. So that number is likely a little bit higher than that right now.
You define post-retired.
Post-retired are individuals that have retired from URS and then come back to work.
Gotcha.
Some of those were pre-2014 and some of those
Gotcha.
were out for a year and came back. Any other questions on that? That's pretty much the only update I have, unless you have any questions. Okay, thank you.
That's it for me. Yes.
We'll move into item 4, UPD reorganization update. Chief Husband.
Mr. Sheriff, short update for you today. First off, I just wanted to hurry and thank fiscal and HR for the past 3 to 4 weeks. They've been great to work with. A lot of times I'll approach them or give chief dial approach with is more working on projects and ask them to do something or quickly do something. I mean, it just happened yesterday. And they've been great to drop what they're doing. And I know they're already so busy with it. Chief, lieutenant, fiscal folks have been really helpful with this process. So I just wanted to recognize the public real quick. Last week and this week, we've conducted some employee Q&As. Some of those have been joint. We had a couple of Q&As with our civilian staff, which were really productive. Met with the Canyons and listened to some of their last week, and then this Thursday, there will be a couple of Q&As conducted. I believe one's at 1 o'clock, the other one's at 7 o'clock to try to capture those different shifts. That'll be conducted here. And I know the mayor is going to be present, maybe some more. I'll plan on being there and we'll answer as many questions as we can for our employees. And so far, we've had a fairly good response from folks. Some good ideas. A lot of questions have been really well thought out, intelligent, and so we appreciate the feedback from them. So you're pretty engaged right now and watching closely about what's happening. We continue to work on our facilities issue. We'll be touring a couple of properties in the next week, a couple more. And, I'll be prepared to give you some more detail on that. We've been exploring a lot of different options. Are you in here? The other attorney.
He's a super important.
Yes. So we're looking at facilities. We're getting a real concept of what's probably going to work in the future and what may not. I would just ask any of you, if you have in your respective areas, your economic development folks or other people in your cities, if you have any ideas for that, please let us know. And again, we're running the gap there from looking at commercial properties to looking at housing in the current properties we're in now. And so we'll come up with will be cost effective and will help support operations, so.
More information question, yeah, but is there a particular area you want to be, or is it anywhere in that area you serve?
We would strongly prefer the area we serve. We've given our brokers the parameters of about 21st South and 90th South. And within that grid from the east side and the west side, we're looking at security issues, we're looking at access to freeways, ingress and egress, things like that, where the response could be quick. And this was mostly housed, like administration, shared services and things that are in this building. But we've given them a criteria and they've been pretty good about trying to find things as close as they can. Next item is, we have started the really important process of working on the budget for next year. Myself and Chief will probably work on that. Our commanders have all received this document you see here. It's Friday, you'll find. This document here, which is commander worksheet, and that's for our budget, so that we can determine what our operational costs are right now. And project those for next year, along with doing our budget projections for next year. So we're starting that process very early on. And thank you, Debbie, for helping facilitate getting that going at this early stage, so we can give you some good information as soon as possible. So our commanders started that procedure. The last thing I want to say is I didn't get a chance to really express it, but I appreciate the board's support and I appreciate all of your support, the personal and professional, including from the sheriff and folks behind me in terms of this new assignment moving forward. Thank you. That's all I've got.
Question. The Q&As with the employees. This is the UPD update. I'm assuming this is UPD centric, what UPD post-July, those types of questions, and the sheriff involved. I imagine as an employee, I'd be looking at the sheriff's office, I'd be looking at the UPD, and we need the sheriff to take some of the employee. I'm just wondering whether that's a joint Q&A or is it just strictly UPD? It is. Good.
Was next Thursday will not be joined. However, I believe Chief, you're still planning on attending, just in case there are those questions. But up to this point, Chief Acklin, myself, and the room. So anyone in the conversation wants to go, people can, ask any question they want.
Okay.
That's been pretty effective.
Good. Thank you.
And the real challenge is everything changes. So, it's tough to tell an employee something and then
As of
change.
today, it's my first.
Right, that is really challenging.
Okay, that was it. Thank you.
On facility stuff, I just let the board know that Mill Creek Precinct has moved into our new city hall building and think they like it, Chief, hit the ground. And and also November 16th, if any of you are interested, you're all invited to come to grand opening for building. Even though we're in there.
What time is that?
Congratulations.
It's 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And at 7 we'll have the ribbon cutting and 7:30 fireworks.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of construction noise still going on. It's not, the building is not done yet, but it's done enough. We had to get out of our old place.
It's a great building to serve that community well and serve the precinct. Any other questions?
Thanks, you appreciate it. All right, Salt Lake County Law Enforcement Bureau update.
Ours is probably short as well, because a lot of things are happening. It takes time with Salt Lake County and with the Merit Commission. So one of the things that we're working on to figure out how we can rank over to the UPD and seniority over. So all those things have to go through the Merit Commission, which the Sheriff's Office has a Merit Commission separate from UPD. And that were the challenges. We have to start from the beginning where UPD is already situated with rank structures, things like that. So that has to occur. And they have to approve know, basically everything all over again. So we'll be on that commission, and then once we do that, we still have to take it to the county council. We've not brought our org chart to the county council yet, because we have to make sure that all these other things are in place prior. Chief Ackerman has been going to the Q&As. One thing that we are working on with county HR, who has been just incredible to work with, trying to get the wage at least the same of UPD, which is a challenge with the county budget currently, but also paying the benefits piece. Benefits are just different in Salt Lake County than UPD. So we're trying, it's taking a lot of work to get there. But as soon as we get some real good, solid information to share, we will. It just takes some time. And then the other piece is, trying to stand up a law enforcement bureau that it already existed at one time, but things have changed. Communities change, so you have to look at what's, best now versus what we had prior. So we're working on that. And then also on a contract model. And that's going to take some time too.
Thank you, Sheriff. As far as the merit commission goes, we're working on a presentation on 3 different fronts. One being the rank structure and how we are going to fill those ranking positions, because current merit commission policy with the county wasn't developed for any of this. And so we're really trying to adhere to the intent of what merit commission policy is, but also having some flexibility that we can navigate some of these unforeseen things. So one of those would be selection of those with ranked positions. The other is with seniority and bringing people over and where they would fall within seniority. Something we do not want to do is harm people because they were brought from the same organization, just at a different time frame, because they belong to a different unit. And so we're going to need some latitude so that we can bring everybody back over, is our intention, with the same seniority that they would have had they remained here and what they're bringing over. But that's taking some work in addition to the rank piece. And then we're also working on our job descriptions, which sworn job descriptions are a little bit easier for us. We're really working hard right now on the civilian job descriptions, because what's called a position over here could have the same job function over in the county, but goes by a different title. And then trying to work with where those are in the pay grade is taking some time. We're making some good progress on that. And that will also go to the merit commission when we make that presentation. We've also hired an office coordinator for the Law Enforcement Bureau. She started on Monday, and so that's a great addition. Another to help us in what we're working on. And the next task that we're going to get going on is our policy and procedure, because UPD policy morphed out of county policy, but over the last 13 years, a lot of changes have been made. And so if you can imagine taking an existing policy and bringing in a new policy, though there's a lot of similarities, there's a lot of overlap and differences, and really we need to look at the entire thing. And so we're getting ready to start that project. We really can't start bringing people on until we have a policy in place. And so that's the next project that we're working on. So in addition to attending those Q&As and trying to get as much information as we can, that's also can be relied on. So.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item 6, UPD reorganization discussion. I think the only thing I've got is just, again, a reminder of the Q&As tomorrow, 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Not 2 7 p.m. We're doing it for 6 hours. I would encourage any employees of UPD to please come and attend that. I'll tell a funny story of why I think it's really important. I got a call a few days ago because of a rumor that Midvale City was unincorporated as a city. And so I got a call to verify if that was true or not. It is definitely not true. I laughed when I got that call. But so it just told me of all the wild rumors that are probably out there. And so please, I would encourage you all to attend that. If you've got questions, come ask them, and we can let you know what's going on. So, if there's anything else from the board. Okay. Move on to the next item, upcoming meetings. We've got the UPD board meeting Thursday, November 16th at 9 a.m. And then the next work session Wednesday, December 6th at 9 a.m. And then the UPD Finance Committee meeting Tuesday, December 12th at 8 a.m. Any meetings on here that we did? Yes.
Mayor, we'll be having another meeting of the Interlocal Committee. I'm gonna have a doodle poll set out for a couple dates and times, and see what works for the members, and, but I anticipate that's going to be, in the next 2 weeks. I think it'll probably be before the next board meeting. But we'll probably set it up for sometime mid next week or Tuesday or Wednesday.
Great, we'll look for that. Thank you. Only other thing I'd add is, I know that a board member called me, we talked yesterday just about how the beginning of the month, we are calling a work session. But now that today we've had action items on here, it doesn't quite fall into the way that we originally set this up. And it was just requested that maybe we don't call it a work session and it's just another board meeting. I'm comfortable with that unless anybody else.
I think that gives us flexibility and would also protect us and alleviate any confusion with respect to people being troubled by us voting and stuff.
Harmony, are you able to change the calendar? And let's see. Oh, do have a closed session to discuss the character, professional competence of an individual. So with that, I would ask for a motion to close it. So we have a motion in second.
Second.
We already need discussion on that. We call roll.
Director Bradley. Director Brems.
Aye.
Director Cardenas.
Yeah.
Director Daly. Director Kuechly. Director Litvak. Director Olson.
Yes.
Director Peterson.
All right.
Director Prokopis.
Aye.
Director Silvestrini.
Aye.
Director Stevenson.
Aye. Okay. Okay. Thanks, everyone.